my name is Amy. I am with the YMCA, and today we are going to learn about the types of food required to be included on a school lunch and how we can create a lunch that includes all of those things. We will be using My Plate as a guideline in order to help us do that. This lesson is brought to you by the Healthy Schools, Healthy Communities curriculum through the Michigan Fitness Foundation. Today's lesson is called Let's Eat Lunch. So we're going to use this My Plate. Do you remember what it was called? My Plate. We're going to be looking at our fruits, our vegetables, our proteins, our grains, and our dairy in order to create that meal. So today, I want you to pretend to be somebody very special in your school. I want you to pretend to be a food service evaluator to decide whether 4 samples on our worksheet that we're going to be looking at meet the standards set by the federal government. Here is what the USDA requires for all of our school lunches. A school lunch must have a protein. It must have a grain. It must have a dairy. Now here is where we have a couple of options available to us as our food service workers. We can either choose to have 1 fruit and 1 vegetable, or we can have 2 fruits, or we can have 2 vegetables. So that's what we have to have in a meal. When it comes to our dairy, we have to have a low-fat milk. That's what our dairy has to require. If it's a milk, it has to be a low fat. But we know that there are other dairies available to us, like cheese or yogurt. But we need to make sure that that's filled. The protein food group can have things like meat and fish and dry beans and poultry and eggs and nuts. Cheese and yogurt can also be substituted into the protein because those dairy items do contain quite a bit of protein. So we have some options available to us. It may feel a little overwhelming, but we're going to go through that worksheet together and see what we can come up with. Each food group provides nutrients to keep our bodies healthy and growing. Vegetables and fruit provide that as well as many other vitamins and minerals. Milk offers calcium for our bones and also protein to help us grow. Grains provide carbohydrates for energy, and protein foods provide iron as well as protein. There are 4 sample meals on the handout that we're going to look at. 2 of them fit the guidelines and 2 do not fit the guidelines. Your job is to figure out which can be served at school, which one can pass, or which one cannot pass. The regulations I told you about are also printed on the top of our handout. So if we get stuck, that's okay. We'll just refer back to that direction. Are you ready to try it out? I think we can do it. So we want to make sure that these school lunches either pass or fail. We're looking at the guidelines for lunches served as part of the National School Lunch Program. School lunch must have 1 milk, low fat or fat free, 2 fruits or 2 vegetables, or 1 of each, 1 grain food, and 1 protein. So 2 of these meals meet the standard listed above and 2 do not. Let's figure it out. We have lunch A. It has a hamburger on a bun with lettuce and tomato, fruit salad, and whole milk. Do we have a protein there? We have the hamburger. Do we have a grain? We have the bun. Do we have fruits and vegetables? Do we have at least 2? We do. We have lettuce and tomato. We also have a fruit salad. Do we have a dairy? We do. I want you to think about that dairy. Does that dairy fit into our guidelines? What kind of milk do we need? If you said low fat or fat free, you're right. So does lunch A meet our standards, or does it not? Did lunch A pass or fail? That's a tough one, but you're right, it failed. We needed a low fat or fat free milk, and we had whole milk there. Let's look at our next one. We have vegetable soup, egg salad sandwich, apple, and fat-free milk. So let's look at that vegetable soup. What do you think it might have in there? You're right, we have vegetables. So that might meet all of our requirements for vegetable. Our egg salad sandwich, do we have a protein? We do have a protein with that egg. It's a sandwich, so do we have a grain? We do have a grain for our bread. We also have a nice apple to help meet those guidelines. And we have fat-free milk. So we have our protein, our grain, our fruits and vegetables, and our fat-free milk. Does that pass or fail? You're right, my friends, it's a pass. Let's give that a nice star because that's a complete meal for us. Let's look at our next meal. We have a cheese pizza with sausage, onions, mushrooms, and pineapple chunks, and a low-fat milk. Do we have a grain? If you said your crust is a grain, you're right. Do we have a protein? I think I hear some of you saying sausage is a protein. Absolutely. Do we have a fruit or a vegetable or a combination? We have 3 on here. We have onions, mushrooms, and pineapple. Way to go on that pizza. What about our dairy? Do we have dairy on there? We do have dairy. We actually have dairy in 2 different places. We have our cheese for our pizza, and we have that yummy, healthy, low-fat milk. Is this a pass or a fail? You're right. We passed on that lunch. That was a good lunch for us to stay healthy. Let's look at our last lunch. We have orange slices, a waffle, bacon, and fat-free milk. Let's take a look. Do we have a protein? We do have a protein with that bacon. Do we have a grain? We do have a grain with that waffle. Do we have a fat-free milk? We do have a fat-free milk for our dairy. So now we have our dairy, our protein, our grain. Do we have at least 2 fruits or vegetables? I only see 1. We only have orange slices on our plate for this one. Is this a pass or a fail? You're right, my friends. This one did not have a complete meal for us to stay healthy. So how was that worksheet? Did you find that it was hard to figure out which meals met the guidelines? Which of the sample lunches sounded good to you? These are all things that you can keep looking at when we're creating our meals at home, or whether we're eating at school, or whether we're eating at a restaurant. Try to follow those guidelines in order to make your body strong and healthy so you can be your best you. I have a little bit of healthy homework for you. I want you to pay attention to the foods that you eat today. I want you to see if any of those meals that you ate met the guidelines that we talked about today. You are all so smart. I am so excited to see what you guys can do. Hope to see you again soon. Bye.